They open sourced every prompt behind their AI movie, every asset, every failed attempt, all of it free. And then the comments underneath their own video told you exactly why free isn't the same as accessible. This is Hellgrind, Higgsfield AI's 95-minute action film made in 14 days and headlined everywhere as costing under $500,000. I read the full breakdown, the budget, the workflow, the canned controversy nobody's talking about, and the real comment section underneath the company's own tutorial. Here's what actually happened and what it actually proves. Before I get into it, quick word on why I'm the one telling you this story and not just reading you a press release. 25 years ago, I was behind a camera on public access television that nobody watched. I worked my way up through local broadcast, through control rooms, through live production. I've done nearly every job on a set at some point except hair and makeup. Right now, I'm lead director at a Fox affiliate, still doing live television every day. Here's the honest turn. There isn't enough work right now. Not for me specifically, for the people I came up with. Crew, filmmakers, editors, camera ops. The work that used to be there consistently just isn't, in the volume it used to be. I'm doing a job I'm honestly overqualified for, not because I lost a step, but because the industry contracted underneath a whole generation of people at once. So here's the part that matters. I'm not telling you that as a complaint. I'm telling you because I'm finding a new way through it, figuring out what AI actually means for people like us, in public, one real story at a time, instead of pretending I've already got it solved. And that's the invitation. You don't have to already have this figured out either. Come find the new way with me. That's what this channel actually is. Okay, let's get into the actual story. Hellgrind is a 95-minute action fantasy film. 4 thieves pulled into a supernatural underworld, a genre built for spectacle, which turns out to matter a lot, and I'll get to why. It's directed by Aitora Zodaskali, co-written with Edilkan Yerzhanov, a screenwriter with real Cannes pedigree, which is part of why this got taken seriously instead of dismissed as a tech demo out of the gate. The genre choice wasn't random. Action fantasy is exactly where current AI video tools are strongest right now, because audiences forgive stylization and heightened action a lot more easily than they forgive a fake-looking human face in a quiet, dramatic close-up. Higgsfield's own leadership has said drama and comedy are coming later, which tells you this was a deliberate choice to play to the technology's actual current strengths, not a creative first choice made in a vacuum. Here's the part I think matters most, and it's the part most covered skip past. Higgsfield wasn't trying to make a great movie. Variety's own reporting is blunt about this. The company wasn't necessarily trying to make something Hollywood quality. They were trying to prove what their technology could do at feature length. That's not a knock. That's just what this actually was, a concept vehicle, a platform demo dressed as a movie release. There's a second reason underneath that. Short-form AI video had already proven itself. A striking 6-second clip is easy to be impressed by. What hadn't been proven was continuity, the same characters, the same world, holding together for 95 minutes. Higgsfield wanted to win that specific argument, regardless of whether the story itself landed. And the third reason is the most straightforward: user acquisition. Higgsfield already had real users, and a splashy feature-length proof point is a recruiting tool for filmmakers thinking about trailers, ads, reshoots, lower-budget genre work. Hellgrind is a billboard, not just a movie. Now, the number everyone actually remembers: under $500,000. That's the headline, and it's technically true. Here's what it leaves out. Roughly 400,000 of that, about 80%, was AI compute. Not a traditional crew, not sets, not physical production costs at all, really. Just the cost of running the models enough times to get something usable. A lot of the coverage compared this to an imagined $50 million traditional feature. And look, directionally, sure, that's a real gap, but it's not a clean comparison. Hellgrind didn't carry the same labor structure, the same physical production demands, the same distribution obligations, or the same quality bar a real studio action feature has to clear. The more honest read is this: a small expert team proved You can hit feature-length visual scale without the traditional cash burden of a physical shoot. But they didn't eliminate the complexity of making something like this. They converted it. Physical production cost went down, compute cost, iteration cost, and human editorial judgment went way up. That's not AI made this cheap. That's AI moved the expense to a different line item, and it's still real money. Public reporting consistently cites a 15-person core team, filmmakers, cinematographers, editors, plus around 30 AI agents, which Variety is careful to describe as model-assisted workflow components, not literal replacements for a crew. This matters because it means Hellgrind was not made by AI alone. Human judgment stayed at the center of it. Shot planning, prompt construction, aesthetic decisions, continuity, the whole post-production assembly. Here's how granular that judgment actually got. One account puts the real numbers at 61,487 total generations to land 960 kept shots in the final cut. Do that math, that's roughly 64 attempts for every single shot they actually used. That is not type a prompt to get a movie. That's mass generation, brutal filtering, and relentless curation. And I want to show you exactly what that looked like in practice because Higgsfield put out their own tutorial walking through it, and it's genuinely the most useful part of any of this. They rebuilt one of the film's fight scenes on camera, and their first attempt looked, in their own words, like a video game cutscene, even though they'd written "not a game, no CGI" into the prompt a dozen times. Their actual discovery: AI video models basically ignore the word "not." The model reads "game," repeated over and over, and leans right into it. Their fix was two things. First, describe exactly what you want instead of banning what you don't. The model gives you what you ask for, not what you forbid. Second, force the model to cut like a director instead of running one long continuous take, which is exactly how a video game looks by default. 4 hard cuts, each with a named lens and angle, a 50mm orbit, a 24mm low angle, an 85mm close-up, a 35mm wide. That's a real specific transferable lesson, and it's free and it applies no matter what AI video tool you're actually using yourself. Here's the honest limitation, and it's the single most important finding in this whole story. Variety's own review called some of the imagery shockingly realistic and also judged the plot nonsensical and dramatically thin. That gap is the real headline most coverage buried. Image realism is advancing faster than writing, than acting, than emotional coherence. Voice and performance were flagged as weak points too. Flat delivery, nothing close to professional voice acting, which makes characters feel emotionally limited even when the frame around them looks incredible. And the continuity numbers back this up from a different angle. The sheer scale of iteration it took to hold a scene together for even a few minutes tells you this process is possible, but it is nowhere close to simple or mature yet. Now the part that actually made me want to do this whole video. This got marketed, repeatedly, as premiering at Cannes. Here's the more precise version. Hellgrind screened during the Marché du Film, the market, and at events around the festival period. It was not selected into the official Festival de Cannes lineup, and Cannes' own team publicly clarified that distinction after press coverage and Higgsfield's promotional framing blurred the line. That's not a small nuance. The market gives you real access. Journalists, buyers, tech press, industry professionals were genuinely there, but it is not the same as official artistic selection by the festival's own curators, and multiple outlets reported that several critics felt the association was overstated. The wider context here is worth knowing too. This landed in the middle of a genuinely polarized industry moment. Demi Moore and Nicholas Winding Refn were reportedly open to AI experimentation. Tilda Swinton and Guillermo del Toro were sharply dismissive. Hellgrind walked straight into that divide, and the Cannes ambiguity generated real attention. But it also cost the project some of its credibility with exactly the audience it needed to convince. So here's my actual verdict on both claims. The technical achievement is real. A 15-person team hitting feature-length visual scale in 2 weeks is a genuine first, and some of what's on screen really is impressive. I'm not here to tell you this is fake or that it doesn't matter. But the marketing version of this story, cheap and validated by Cannes, doesn't survive contact with the actual numbers. Cheap meant $400,000 of compute and 64 discarded generations for everyone they kept. Can meant the market, not the festival. Judge the real achievement. Don't judge the version built for a press release. And here's the part that actually stuck with me the most, and it didn't come from any article. It came from the comment section underneath Higgsfield's own tutorial video. Real enthusiasm was there. One person wrote that watching it reminded them of the ambition of Spielberg and Cruise in Minority Report, and that's earned, genuinely. But right underneath that, where money isn't a problem, anything is possible. The amount you spend on just one short film is more than we could earn in many years. Nobody prompted that comment. He watched the same free tutorial I did and did the math himself. Another commenter, same thread, said flatly that the actual cost to use these tools at this level is still out of reach for the average person. Both of those things are true at the same time, and that's the real story, not a contradiction to pick a side on. The technique really is free now, and the specific lesson about how these models handle negative instructions is useful no matter what tool you're actually using. But free instructions sitting on top of tools that cost real money to run at scale is not the same as this being accessible to you. The audience said that themselves before I ever had to. If you've ever looked at an AI production's headline budget number and wondered what it left out, hit like, comment, and tell me. When you hear we made this for almost nothing, what's the first question you actually ask? Send this to a filmmaker, an editor, or a producer in your life who's been sold the AI makes it cheap pitch, because they should see the real numbers, not just the headline. And follow this channel. I'm finding a new way through this industry in real time, figuring it out honestly instead of pretending I already have the answer, and you're welcome to find it with me.